MudRFunR here. Today I'm out here with my 04.5 GMC Sierra, and we still got some more rust damage to look after on this. After everything that's been done, still needs more. But the old girl's got 455,000 kilometers on it in Canada, on salty roads in the winter. Yeah, so, and I have neglected to oil it like I should be. My bad. So, I'll show you what we're looking at. Kind of hard to tell, but that there is pretty rusty right there. Well, that is too, that's for another day. But right now I need to get that mud flap off, and I'll get this fender flare off, and you can see how bad that fender really is. This screw right here, I didn't even loosen it, it just popped out. I think it's just stuck to the fender flare and is all. That's pretty rotten. Okay, there's a bolt down underneath here for the fender flare yet. I'm going to get that off. So I've got a 13mm ratcheting wrench here. Hopefully I can get it off with that. So that's the bolt that came out of there. I finally broke down and ordered the proper tool for popping out these clips. But with all this COVID stuff going on, the delivery didn't make it. Now it's 3 days later and still not here yet. That one just broke off. Ready for it. Here you go. That's what it really looks like. Nice, eh? Alright. Inner fender's next. Get that out. Get back to you. So since this whole front end's coming apart, I'm going to start right at the front here with the rest of it. Next up is this center cover here. Alright, I'm going to get the rest of these clips out and I'll get back to you. All 7 of those clips are out. Drill would be next. That's a 10mm bolt in there. That is the only bolt that holds this. So there's a bunch of these types of clips holding the grill in, and you might have to squeeze them in a little bit to get them out. There's 3 clips going this way. Oh, I guess it's only 2. There's half. So if I was just removing the fender, I wouldn't be taking the bumper off. In my case, that bumper's shut, so the bumper's coming off too. It's starting to get holes right through it. This part especially got a hole right all the way through. And since these things come off so easily, I'm going to get them out of there just so I don't break anything. Just have to push that little tab in and it slips out. Alright, I'm going to do that to both sides. I got a used bumper here already. It's off a parts truck I have in the yard. So that front is looking pretty naked. So the hood's going to have to come off, and I always put a mark around the bolts. This way you can see exactly where it was when it came off, because they are adjustable. And then you need to take this wire off right here, and it's a 10 mil using a deep socket. Before I take the bolts out, I just put a cloth down on this there. This way it all of a sudden drops. It's not going to scratch anything or break the windshield. Okay, and I'll take 2 of the bolts out on each side. And loosen the other one. I need you to hold this end, this side to top as high as you can get it. Okay, now we're going to go forward, just up and forward. Got it? Okay, let's go this way with it. Got to start getting the inner fender tore apart. Just going to get that map sensor wire out. Yep, that's been on there for a while. I'm going to undo that clamp. Pull the hose off. And I'm taking the top off here. I could probably get in there without doing this, but I wanted to check my filter anyway, so now's a good time just to take it apart. Okay. Don't look too bad, a little leaf in the corner there, but other than that, it looks pretty good. A little bit of junk down there. And that's just snapped into place here. Take it out and clean it. And it's got 4 bolts. Holding this tray in place here. Actually, sorry, it's got 5. And I could probably just take these 3 bolts out and pull the fender apart, but just want to make sure everything's cleaned up when I put it back together. So I'll take this whole thing off. So I got the 5 bolts out of here, 10mm head, and there's my tray. Just going to clean that up before I put it back on. And there's a 10mm head bolt right here that holds your coolant overflow in place. And the other one is right down here next to the battery, and it's actually a nut. Just that. And then you can lift this and just move it out of the way. Bungee it over if you like. So this is a 2500 and it has an extra battery in it. And I'm just going to take that out right now. I haven't unhooked the other battery yet. So this is still live. I'm going to fix that up right now. So what I found here was a cap. I think it belongs on a pair of crutches. But anyway, it covers up almost the whole thing. And I'm just going to tape it up a little bit yet. I'm taping this up because I need to move my truck and get it out of the shop for the night so I can close the door for night. Right now my truck doesn't fit all the way in here because there's too much stuff sitting at the end of the shop and it won't quite fit. But anyway, that's going to keep my positive from shorting out in the meantime. Negative wire is off. I got the bolt out of here. And let's see what kind of junk is under here. I know it looks pretty nasty. So that's what kind of crud is in here. A little bit rotten. I say. Well, looky here. Look what's in that box. Brand new battery tray. Yeah, you'd think somebody was expecting this. Yeah. That was reason number 2 for pulling this whole thing apart. Anyway. Pitter patter, let's get at her. And there's 2 13mm bolts right there, or nuts actually. There's a 3rd and 4th one down underneath there yet. Right out. Yep, there we go. So it's fender time, and I usually like to do the worst ones first. And this is the bottom bolt behind the wheel here, and it looks to me like it really wasn't even holding anymore. So on to the next 2. So now with the passenger side door open, there's a bolt straight ahead there. And near the top, there's another one right there. And I think they're both 13mm. Wow, I didn't even get to turn the camera on. The first one is out already. And that one's out. Wow. So there's 4 more bolts left. What I can see anyway. Two right in there. See what happens. Ow. Oh yeah, there we go. Everything looks good except for down in the bottom here. clean this up. So today is day 3, Fender time. I have to disassemble the old one, get all the pieces off there that I need. Anyway, I didn't get a new bracket like that, so I'm going to clean it up and make it look pretty. Might have to go ahead and order that another day. So next I'm going to take the hinge off. So this is a special bolt. Actually, both bolts are special. Here, that can go aside for now. And there's a bunch of, I call them clip nuts, like this. There's 2, and right here is 2 more. Rubber on here for your hood, and then right here there's another plastic bracket. You'll need a 10 millimeter to get that off. Just going to set this off to the side, just make sure I got everything, and I better not do that to the new fender. Look at the marks I left. Eesh. And I'm just going to clean up my mess here before I get the new one out. These things just have these strings that usually come undone pretty easy. That one didn't. Easy peasy. And I'm just going to do a little comparison here of the 2 fenders. Okay, so it's a good thing I kept the old fender here for a little bit yet. 2 little clips that I hadn't taken off yet for these 2 bolts. Just these 2 little clips. Might just as well transfer them to the new one, since I got them in my hand and I'm thinking about them at the moment. The hood. Where did these 2 little clips come from? Right here. I think this is the spot for them right here. And those 2 clips are the ones that are in behind the door. And this little bracket, it's got 2 little pegs right there. Fit into this slot. chain can go back on as well. And make sure you're using the proper bolt, or your hinge ain't gonna turn. And same with this one. It's a special bolt. This is my half rotten bracket right here, but looks better than it did, and I'm gonna have to probably replace this in the near future. But for now, I don't have one, so it is going on. And I cleaned up the heads of the bolts too, so they look a little bit nicer. There we go. Kind of protects everything and makes it look pretty. And that should be all of it. Took the time to clean up a little bit of some of the rust that was in the back here. Just above the step, this here was completely covered in rust, surface rust. So I sanded it down as best as I could, and I got some rust converter and sprayed it on there, and then I got some rust paint, and the rest of this, it's all going to have to be fixed up another time. It's got quite a bit of rust happening under there, but I do have the right black paint for this. Just wasn't worried about it right under here because you can't see it anyway. So some of you are probably thinking that I should have painted that before I put it on, but like I said, I got a bunch of other painting to do on the rocker panels and on both sides a little bit. So this will get a paint job same time as the rest of it gets painted. Sort of matches. So I've got the shorter bolts in the top here and one bolt up in the front, and I'm going to tackle them once from the inside. It's not scrubbing yet. So back in here, you can see that this doesn't quite line up, that clip. So I just want to make sure that I can get my bolt through there, because you can't really get in there with your hands. So I'm just using a socket with some long extensions here. See if I can get it through there. There we go. Okay. And I'm not going to tighten this up yet. I just want to make sure my fender and everything lines up good in the front. And I'll do the same with the bottom one. I got those in, but not tight, so carefully close the door. Make sure it aligns. Doesn't catch anywhere. So far so good. So I went ahead and tightened up the two bolts from the inside of the door, and then it seemed like it was catching here. And it's still pretty close, but I went ahead and tightened up this bottom bolt under here, and now it's not catching when I open the door. Thought I was going to have to shim it, but I think I'll be alright. I'm going to tighten all these down and then check the fit by the door again. All the fender bolts are tight now. One last check. Alright, bolt is like right there, but it won't quite line up. Aftermarket junk, I guess. Little persuasion, it's in. There's 4 nuts with a washer on the end. Came off of here. So those 4 nuts are tight. I did take a brush and scrubbed it all nice and clean underneath here so there's none of the battery acid left on the bottom of it. So this will just sit on top of that little bolt. There was one bolt with a big flat washer. I'm assuming the bigger one is for here because you're screwing into plastic. Maybe I should have done this before the battery. I'm going to try my luck at dropping it in there without dropping it. That's in. This little bracket here, I didn't paint it because you can't see it under there, and it actually looks pretty good, just dirty. And again, I'm not restoring this thing, just trying to get an old truck to look a little better. It's kind of hard to give you a shot while I was doing this, but there's 5 bolts that hold this piece in, and for some reason this one and this one over here, they were longer ones. Those were little shorties and those were longer ones over there. Anyway, I got this bottom piece of the air breather nicely cleaned up, as good as it's going to get. Right there, that goes into that rubber there. That rubber goes on this pin right here, and that right there goes into that hole right there. So I'm going to put this in now. And you might have to persuade it here a little bit. Okay, so I was wrong. This goes right in here in this little slot. Got my filter blown out. I didn't put a new filter in, but just blew it out with the air hose. Wasn't too bad. Then I'm just going to put these 4 screws back in. Already got that wire back on and the clamp tightened up on the hose. So just going to back it out now so we got some room to put the hood on. I'm going to lift this up and then stay line up so that we can these bolts are just in there. They're not tightened yet. This is where the yellow mark comes in, what I made before. Just get them all just tight, barely hand tight. Get rid of those cloths now. Pretty close. I'll go do the other side and then I'll tighten those up all the way if it matches. And the hinge has to come this way. Pretty close to where it was. Alright, let's see how it closes. Wire can go back on as well. So I cleaned these up a little bit, not real extravagant, but I got all the 3 bulbs in here. And this thing is so easy peasy. Snaps in just like that. Right here where the grill is supposed to bolt on, it broke. And this inner fender has seen better days. So I won't be putting the inner fender in today. I've got a parts truck out back that has a much better inner fender than the one I got. And I was waiting for my little tool to pull those clips out. And because of this COVID stuff, it just hasn't arrived yet. So this is being recorded sometime later. I've got the driver's side fender off right now, and just wanted to mention one more thing. You can see where that doesn't quite line up against the door, and not so bad on the bottom here, but a little bit off right there by the rocker and the bottom of the door. And you can use shims, put them in behind the bolts there and space that out if you really wish. This truck is old, so I'm not going to worry about it. But if you really want to get fussy, shim those up so that everything sits nice and straight.